What's up, everybody? Quick video. The question of, do nootropics have side effects? I'm going to be a dodgy politician for about a minute here, and then I'm going to get back to being straightforward with you. First, I would say the answer is everything has side effects. This coffee that I'm drinking has side effects. Sleeping too much has side effects. Running too much has side effects. Lifting too much weights has side effects. What else? Drinking alcohol, the thing that like 60 to 70% of the world's population consumes pretty regularly, has side effects. But if you look at every pharmaceutical, most pharmaceuticals, and I'd probably argue that every pharmaceutical in these two categories that I'm going to discuss has side effects. Most nutraceuticals have side effects. Vitamins have side effects. I mean, I know people that take too much methylfolate or something and they get heart palpitations, or too much B12 and they get anxious. I'm one of those people. If I take too much B12, I just feel, weird. It's too much for me. That's a side effect. Doesn't mean B12 gives me side effects. It means too much B12 gives me side effects. My brother has like a very specific regimen. And one of the things in his stack is Cortex. He takes Gen 1 and just like in love with it. But he also takes magnesium, vitamin C, and a B complex, and a bunch of other things. He notices that in the realm of gut functionality and digestion, that too much magnesium gives him a problem. Too little magnesium gives him a problem. The right amount of magnesium doesn't give him a problem, and everything flows like really awesome. He's got great digestion, and he doesn't have any side effects. So now I'm done dodging the question, right? But because I wanted to preface it with that explanation. The answer is because everything has side effects. Do nootropics have side effects? Sure they do. Of course they do, right? To say that nootropics don't have side effects is really not considering the complex biochemical process of anything synthetic that you put in your body, or even if it's natural but just synthetically created in a lab. But the two things to watch out for, or the two things to sort of be conscious of, right? I don't know how to say it, around side effects are, which can either facilitate or inhibit side effects, are dose, right? So side effects are dose dependent. And for nootropics, it's cofactors. If I take, a bunch of oxiracetam in 1500 milligram dose, and I don't take it with a choline source, I'm going to run into some side effects. If I do take it with a choline source, I'm still going to run into some side effects because 1500 milligrams of oxiracetam is too much for me. I can take 500 milligrams oxiracetam, 300 milligrams, choline bitartrate, and I'm perfect, and I feel like totally awesome. But any more than that, if I start to sort of tip the balance in one direction or the other, especially in an excessive dose direction, then I get side effects from oxiracetam. What does that mean? Like, can we make the statement that oxiracetam has side effects, the nootropic oxiracetam? No, we can't really make that statement. It just, because that's a blanket statement, it doesn't get granular at all. It's like, I would look at that surface level assertion and be like, come on, like, can you get more detailed than that? It's, taking a higher dose for my brain than I've already come to figure out and sort of nail down as a perfect sweet spot, that's going to give me side effects. And the same is true with alcohol, with caffeine. I mean, this is my second cup of coffee for the day. These are sort of small, some relatively small cups. I pour like about that much in. If I go and drink another cup of that coffee, guess what? I'm going to feel anxious, and I'm going to have to probably take like something like L-theanine, the amino acid, to calm down that anxiety and get myself back into a manageable place. What's that mean? It's dose dependent whether or not I get side effects from this, from this cup of coffee. Years ago, I took L-tyrosine for about 6 months straight every day, and it was phenomenal. I had suspected that I had deficiency in one of the three neurotransmitters that L-tyrosine eventually ends up creating: epinephrine, dopamine, and norepinephrine, these catecholamine neurotransmitters. So I started taking L-tyrosine, and it worked. Like, I felt incredible again. I had massive amounts of energy. It was just like, I was like rocking. I remember even taking it like a couple times before going out to drink alcohol, 5, 6 drinks, and where other people around me, I could start to see their cognitive decline. Boom, you and you and you and you. I see their cognitive skills start to decline, not me. And that was just like, totally impressive for me. So I was like obsessed with taking L-tyrosine, and I still think it's awesome if it works good for your brain. But eventually, it started giving me anxiety. It started, as I took too much of it, I took it for too long of a time. I repleted those neurotransmitters and then some. Or there's this other biochemical process that happens where tyrosine competes with tryptophan for the conversion to whatever they eventually end up being. And tryptophan will eventually convert to serotonin. So in that process, essentially taking L-tyrosine might inhibit the uptake of in the creation of serotonin via sort of inhibiting the enzyme, or because of this competition process that converts 5-HTP or tryptophan to serotonin. Did that cause my anxiety problems because I was running into a serotonin deficiency? Maybe, but but either way, I didn't understand that complex biochemical process going into it, and so I ran into a side effect, and eventually I took too much L-tyrosine. Could I take L-tyrosine these days, knowing what I know now about that sort of enzymatic, the competitive enzymatic process for uptake? Probably. I could probably make it work. I haven't tried because uridine is like the best dopamine modulator I've ever touched, ever dealt with. It's like a miracle nootropic, which is why we put it in Cortex. But if I wanted to go and take L-tyrosine, I could figure it out, right? I could go back to the process if, of course, I have room to replete more catecholamine neurotransmitters. If I'm not already topped off on dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, which I might be, and that might have been the problem. But it might have been this. It might have been a serotonin deficiency, which I have no way of knowing because I didn't go and test it. I just stopped taking the L-tyrosine and I was fine. But I could probably make it work in the future. But that's a good example of potentially cofactors and or dose. I might have took it for too long. All right, but when it was working for me, it was working remarkably. And so I think that there are a lot of parallels, with a lot of other nootropics, like not just my oxiracetam choline example, but all the other racetams. You take too much, you run into a problem. You take too little, you run into a problem. You take too little of a choline source, you run into a problem. You take the wrong choline source, you run into a problem. I can take 150 milligrams of alpha GPC and feel brain fog. I can take 70 milligrams of alpha GPC and feel awesome. So I think we just have to remember dose dependency and cofactors with nootropics, and if we want to get the best effects, everybody sort of needs to experiment wisely, unless you're taking a pre-made stack, in which case the manufacturers of the stack hopefully experimented very wisely for a long time and did a beta testing protocol like we did with Cortex to find the right blend. But if you're making bulk powder and you're making your own capsules, which is what a lot of nootropics people do, then you have to think about it very wisely, and you have to understand cofactors, and you have to experiment with doses that work for you. And really, guys, I think that for most people, less is more. If you've not tried the Cortex Nootropic Stack, secure a bottle at livecortex.com. It is being called the only pre-made stack that works, and it works wonderfully. Enter the coupon code STARTUPS, STARTUPS, for a couple bucks off from me. And thanks so much for watching.